Hi folks, it's Sean McCormack, and in this video I'm going to look at selection methods in Lightroom and just a little clue as to how I would go about making selections. Generally speaking, I'm on a 24-inch monitor and I would use only just one monitor. I do have a second monitor I could use, but I actually much prefer working with just one monitor. So what I would do is I would come down and I would select the second monitor, just show, and what I would do is I would make sure it was in loop view, in live loop, and then I would make sure that I'm actually zoomed into 1:1. That way I've effectively got a zoomed in view, and then I would normally run my image in loop view, so I'm just going to press E for loop. So as you can see, if I hover over, I can actually see what the center of the image looks like. Now obviously some of the image is blocked off here, so what I would normally do is I would open up the actual left panel just so that I've pushed the image over so that I can see the composition within the frame, and then of course I can also zoom in and see internally what's happening within the frame too. So that basically just gives me a starting point. Now there's three main ways of making your selections in Lightroom, and that's using flagging, using star ratings, and using labels. There is other means as well, which I'll just discuss briefly at the end as well, but we're just going to go through them now. I have the toolbar open here as well. You can get that by pressing T for toolbar, and we can see that we have our flagging options here, our star ratings, and our labels. So we can input them by directly clicking here in the toolbar, or for the most part we can use shortcuts to get to them. So flagging is something that is local to the folder collection. That means that it's only visible in that folder collection. If you go back to all photographs and you try and see if the flags are there, the flags won't be there. They're only there in your folder collection. Star ratings and labels, on the other hand, are visible everywhere. Filters don't get saved with the XMP, or sorry, flag filters don't get saved with the XMP, where star ratings and labels will. Generally speaking, I use flagging to get the majority of my selections done. And the way I would do that is I generally use the three shortcut keys P, U, X. So that's P for pick, U for unflag, and X for reject. In a first pass scenario, I would normally do one or two passes. I would generally just use the X key and the right arrow key with auto advance on. So that way if I press reject, it jumps to the next image, and then if I want to keep the image, I just press the right arrow key. It just means that I'm using my left hand to press X and my right hand to press the arrow key, so I'm not jumping around the keyboard. It's just a comfort thing for me. It's just the way I like to work. If you want to use P and U and X, you can do that too as well. So what I would literally do is I would come up, and you have a couple of options, right? If you go up to the photo menu, you can select auto advance from there, or what you can do is what I do, which is I press the caps lock key. So what I will do is I'll hover over the middle, I get a rough idea of what an image looks like, say, if I want to keep it or not. So say this one's a little bit soft, so if I'm going to press X, so I press X, we can see that it's jumped to the next image, and that in the film strip it's gone grey. So we can see that that is a rejected image, and we can also see that we have the X flag here in the film strip itself. And if we were to go back to the image, actually click physically on the image, we would see that the flag here is set. So we're on to the say I wanted to keep this one. I was happy enough with it. I'm just going to use the right arrow and literally go across to the next one. X, right arrow, X. This is just showing you these aren't particularly going to be rejected or not. I'm just showing an example. So we can fly through them. So let's say we've done that and we've got to the point where we're happy with what we have. If we want to just see those flagged images, if we come over here to the filter, if we just click on unflagged images, because we've made no pics, we can see that it's only unflagged photos, and that our rejected images have disappeared. Take it off again and we see the rejected images have come back. So that's flagging. Star rating works in a similar way, except that it has the shortcut keys from 0 to 5, which is 0 is no rating, and then 1 to 5 is however many number of stars you want. A good way to use it, for example, is if you want to make an image a reject, or like an image you're not going to use, but you still want to have a star rating. If you're using stars, you really need to think about the fact that when images come in, they come in at 0 rating. So that means that if you don't rate images, they'll be at 0. So you're better off, even if you're rejecting an image, to say have it as a 1-star image, so you know that the image has been looked at and you've rejected it. So in this case, we could say 1, and because we have auto advance on with the caps lock, see it's jumped to the next image. And then you could set this as a 2 for a maybe, and then you can set this as a 3 for a definite yes, and it's jumped to the next one. Generally speaking, you wouldn't use 4 or 5 on an initial pass, unless an image was absolutely outstanding and you knew that this is going to be the best ever. You really need to be conservative using your star ratings, otherwise you'll have too many 4 or 5 star images, when in actual fact they may not be the 5 star images over your whole portfolio. They might just be the 5 stars from that. But because of the fact that stars are global, you do need to be conservative with them. Again, you can have like 1 or greater stars, 2 or greater stars as we're searching with filters, or 3 or greater stars. So you can see that you can quickly filter images to find what you need. The next option, of course, we have is labels. And with labels, you have color sets. Now, there's shortcuts only for 4 of them, which is red, yellow, green, and blue. And that's 6, 7, 8, and 9. There's no shortcut for purple. Again, these can be used as you have red, yellow, and green. And you could actually have them set to no, maybe, and yes, like traffic lights. And you could use them in that form. And then you could use blue for final keepers or stuff like that, or purple for needs editing or something like that. Of course, because there's no shortcut for purple, I feel that it's a little bit not as useful, say, as stars would be, just because of the fact that you don't have shortcuts for everything. Okay, so that's a real quick look at some of the selection methods. There is another selection method you can. I've covered it on lightroom-blog.com talking about target collections, but in this case we're just going to speak of it as if it was a quick collection. Now, if you have a quick collection set up, I'm just going to move my window out of the way, go up to quick collections. This quick collection is not set up properly yet, so I need to go set as target collection. So what you can do with that is, if you go through your images using the B key and the right arrow key, what you can do is, if you want to keep an image, say, I'm just going to bring this over here, so I press B, and that adds to the quick collection, and it goes to the next image because I have the caps lock on. So you can decide, you can quickly get the images you want together, marked into the quick collection, and so are the ones that you're picking quickly. Now, obviously, using it as a quick collection is very impermanent, so it's only something literally you do quickly, but you can make that's a good way of just getting stuff into a collection quickly, so that you've made your picks into a collection and you're not really rating or starring or labeling or flagging. But that's just an alternative method. You can also, of course, just use the delete key to delete images as you go, but that could be dangerous in case you change your mind later. I think you're better off deleting until the end of a session, so that you know for a fact that these images definitely need to be deleted. And that's one thing that you should consider in terms of keeping your library clean and tidy, is either removing images or deleting images that are rejected. So that if you're the kind of person who's afraid of losing the images, you can just remove them from the library. The more you remove from the library, the faster your machine is, because large catalogs do tend to slow down just because of the size of the database file. Like I've 110,000 images in this catalogue. I need to practice what I preach a little bit more. I am deleting a lot more, but just need to get them out so that they're not cluttering up the library and helping with the speed of your library. So that's just a little bit about making use of selection techniques in Lightroom.